how do we define the word unity? After all, we hear it all the time. Unity in jobs, unity in our schools, and unity in our church. But what is the implication behind the word? Is it nothing more than a group of people working, learning, or worshiping together, loosely linked by a common goal or belief? Perhaps unity begins as nothing more than an empty cup, a framework created to house something bigger than itself, a vehicle built to contain a combination of ingredients, each with their own special qualities that make them unique, each consisting of elements and properties that make it perfectly suited to fulfill its purpose. Together, each piece makes its own valuable contribution, regardless of its use as a singular item. Individually, each element is by no means worthless, but when combined together by the hands of a skilled creator, they become something wonderful. A delicious blend of unity.
Now, there's what I miss in Christ. If any of you can make espresso, we put an espresso machine here in the church, I think we'd have everybody in town come here. But yeah, I kind of miss that. But as you can see, we're gonna talk about unity this morning a little bit. To be in the Spirit is to experience unity. But did you ever get the feeling that you just need to do something by yourself? Just get out of the way. Let me do it. I have, especially back when I was working at a car dealership. Wayne he'll probably agree with me on this. If you ever had the job of replacing an engine in a car, and I'm sure you have, it's one of those things that it's not just all fun and games. You know, I mean, it can turn into a pretty good job. And sometimes it feels like you need about 4 different hands to hold things out of the way. I mean, you're scraping wires and hoses and all that kind of thing to get the engine back into the hole that it came out of. Now here's the problem. Whenever you have a big job like this and you got a lot of guys standing around, you know, inevitably somebody wants to help you. Here, let me do this. I'll push this way. And pretty soon, I'm pushing this way, and he's pulling that way, and we're just fighting against each other. So usually after a while of doing that, I'd say, go back to the bed. Just let me do it. But for most things, we work better together. There's definitely something to the verse that says, Ecclesiastes 4:12, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. I want to read to you from the book of Exodus this morning also, chapter 17. While the people of Israel were still at Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek attacked them. Moses commanded Joshua, choose some men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. Tomorrow, I will stand at the top of the hill, holding the staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did what Moses had commanded and fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. As long as Moses held up the staff in his hand, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hand, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became so tired that he could no longer hold them up. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands. So his hands held steady until sunset. As a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. Pretty good story that probably most of us have heard before. But it displays to me what unity is all about. And I see some things from the story that could apply to us in the church as well. Go to the first slide there. People were committed to their leader. So Moses, he tells Joshua to go out into this battle and to fight, and he'd stand up on the hill with the staff of God in his hand. Now we don't really know why or what it had to do with lifting his hands to win the battle, but when he lifted his hands, they began to win, they began to get the advantage, and when he lowered his hands, the Amalekites would begin to win the battle. The lifting of hands still is, and was during that time associated with prayers. So the people may have seen Moses' lifting of his hands to mean that he was praying for them. Psalm 63:4 says, I will praise you as long as I live, lifting up my hands to you in prayer. Doesn't it feel good to know that somebody's praying for you? I mean, it does for me, and as a pastor, I have people tell me a lot that they're praying for. It feels good. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel strengthened. It makes me feel confident. So the people, when they felt that Moses was praying for them, were energized in their battle. You know, a lot of us nowadays, we say pretty commonly, that we're praying for something. We say it in such a way sometimes that it doesn't really mean a whole lot. We go through Facebook and we see some kid there with cancer, and a lot of times these things will run on there, and they may be 10 years old or whatever. Probably not that long. Facebook hasn't been around that long, but it may be several years old, and we say, yeah, I'm praying, even though you don't know them. I think sometimes we say today, I'm praying more than we're actually praying. But I guess that's another subject for another day. The point is, the army down below, led by Joshua, looked up on this mountain, and when they saw that Moses was there, and when they knew that Moses was praying, there was nothing that could stop him. In the same way, if we have unity through the Holy Spirit, there's nothing that can stop us. One of the things that creates unity in the Holy Spirit is confidence in the leader. Now, I know I haven't been with you very long, and I don't really expect a lot. I know that trust is something that a person builds over time, and I understand that very well. I know that and I understand that, but when you get to the point where you trust me, and I trust you, then I know that we'll have true unity in the church. The church of Corinth was going through some of the same things when they didn't know who to follow, and it caused confusion. In 1 Corinthians 1, 11 through 13, it says, for some members of Chloe's household have told me about your quarrels, my dear brothers and sisters. Some of you are saying, I'm a follower of Paul. Others are saying, I follow Apollos, or I follow Peter, or I follow only Christ. Has Christ been divided into factions? Was I, Paul, crucified for you? Were any of you baptized in the name of Paul? Of course not. While I know that a good pastor can provide valuable leadership in a church, ultimately, we should only be led by one person. There's no one that's going to lead this church except for Jesus Christ. Nobody else better even attempt it. This is His church. This is not Danny's church. This is not Larry's church, or Dale's church, or Glenn's church, or my church. This church belongs to Jesus. If I'm His appointed to be in this place, then so be it. But we will unify around the Spirit of Christ. Secondly, unity in the Spirit provides helpers. You know, when you're all on the same page, when you all have a common goal, people are more apt to help and come and do things. I don't know how many times in the ministry my arms got tired. Did your arms ever get tired before? I have. And just like Moses, I felt like I just couldn't hold them up any longer. There was a news segment on the Today Show this past week, and they were saying that experiencing burnout at work is a real thing. You know, we've talked about burnout, you know, for years and years. They said it's a real thing. And they gave some ways to cope with it and to coach you through and telling people how important it is to have some time off. Yeah, I'm going to be off kind of at the end of the month and take a few days because it's important for every one of us. I've experienced other people in the church as well who just got burned out. And it always happens that they try to take on too much and they try to do too much. And it generally happens in smaller churches where the majority of the people do the minority of the people do the majority of the work. And it seems like things are just piled on a few people. But here's the good news. When we're unified in the Spirit, He will send people. People will step up and take on jobs. Proverbs 17:17 said, a friend is always loyal, and a brother is born to help in the time of need. We all have times of need. We all need your help. In the church, some of the people who seem to always sit on the sidelines would be the most upset whenever somebody, it seemed, left the church because they were just burned out. They were tired. And I don't understand why they left. They were doing so much. They were doing so good. Maybe it was because nobody would help them. And they leave the church because they can't let things go. You can't just say, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. So they just leave. It's easy for a pastor to experience the same thing. Well, you know, we all feel like we're the only ones that can do something right. You know? Well, when you're in charge of something, you feel like, oh man, I'm the only one that can do that. So we want it done our way, and then the only way to do that is just do it yourself. Let me assure you, there's no shortage of people in the church that will let you do things yourself. They may complain about it after you do it, but they'll let you do all the work you want to do. You see, Moses was tired. Hey, have you ever tried to just hold your arms out there and just see how long that you could hold your arms? It doesn't take very long before gravity begins to... You find out how much your arms really weigh. And they get heavy. So Aaron and Hur, they came alongside Moses and they held his arms up for him. And as long as they did that, then the battle was controlled by the Israelites, which led to a victory. We got some good folks in the church here that I'm sure that would come along and hold my arms up if I need. But we can always use more. We can always use more people that need to be involved when we're unified in the Spirit. we'll have those that will come along and help. And last, when people rally around the spirit of unity, we'll have victory. 1 Corinthians 15:57. But thank God He gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Jesus Christ. And being on this team, being a Christian, being a follower of Jesus Christ is all about victory. We want to win something in the end, don't we? This is not just a game to occupy our time. We want to be winners. It says that Moses' arms stayed steady. Aaron on one side and Hur on the other side. And the Israelites had a complete victory. You see, everything was in place. The Israelites had a strong leader in Moses. They knew that he was God's chosen one for them. And Moses had a strong support team around him. He had two able men standing on each side holding his arms out. And he had a dedicated group of people who were unified in the mission of destroying God's enemies. All these things combined made them unstoppable. There was nothing that could stop the Israelites with all these things together. So how do you think it would look if the church was victorious? How do we measure victory anyway? I've spoken to you several times about what I feel is a need in the church and the importance of making disciples. And the more I study and the more I research, the more I believe it's essential to our victory. I've read a couple of books lately by Jim Putnam, and he's the pastor of Real Life Church in Idaho. They have over 8,000 members in the church. And he planted the church from nothing. Had some people who came alongside him and asked him to plant this church. And he said he asked two questions in the very beginning. As he set his support group down, he asked these questions. He said, if Christianity were a team sport and the church were Christ's team, what would winning be? And the second question was, what is the church supposed to do and be to win? Of course, from the people he asked, he got all kinds of answers. I suspect if I asked the same question here, first off, I wouldn't get any answers. It'd be like on Wednesday night. For those of you who have ever been here Wednesday night, we go through periods of silence sometimes. Because I ask a question, I get that deer in the headlights like, oh my. Then one or two people would probably speak up and mostly have different answers and ideas about what a successful church would look like. When he asked the question, a few people said that if the church is victorious, then it feels like a family. Some people said that if we were victorious, then we should have dynamic preaching and great music. Some people said that we should have pastors that are trained in pastoral care to meet the needs of hurting people, and that would be a win. Jim Putnam said he went to Scripture to answer the question, as I have. And I keep coming up with the same result. In Matthew 28, Jesus makes it very clear that we're to reach the world one person at a time. Every Christian, every believer, every person who calls upon the name of the Lord has the same responsibility to participate in the mission to make disciples. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. So basically, Jesus is telling us to go and have a relationship with someone. And while we're having that relationship, teach them to have a relationship with someone else. You see, the old model that we've come to know and love of the church is not very biblical. When we think about church, we think about having classes or having speeches that can draw people to Christ, and sometimes that works. Sometimes someone wakes up on Sunday morning and decides they have nothing better to do that day, so they'll come to church. And sometimes a message touches them, but it doesn't happen very often. At the heart of Jesus Christ and his teachings is unity through personal relationships. We speak a lot about having a relationship with Jesus. We want you to have a personal relationship with Jesus, but we don't speak very much about having relationships with each other, especially those outside the church. Most people will never lead anyone to Christ in their lifetime. That's not biblical. That's not keeping the plan that Jesus laid out for us. When we're in unity through God's Spirit, we'll know our purpose. We'll understand why the church exists. We'll also understand why we exist as believers. I'm going to make this offer to some people, to offer my personal time, to come alongside some of you who may want to go deeper and figure out what winning looks like. And we'll learn how to be a disciple of Christ. We're going to learn how to make disciples of other people. So if you think you'd be interested in this time together, I want you to first pray. Because Jesus tells us to count the cost. None of us need to commit to anything until we realize that there's a cost and there's a cross to bear. And it won't be easy, but there are rewards. God's Holy Spirit continues to move in this place, I believe. As I grow as your leader, as I've had those who support my ministry come alongside, and as we all become better followers of Christ, the Spirit will continue to unite us in one purpose. If you don't know what that purpose is, if you don't know where you fit in, today's the day to make that move, to decide, how is God going to use me to be his disciple? To be unified in the church. So come and pray with us this morning as we sing.